Achievement hunting has made a bit of a comeback on YouTube, and seeing others go for those classic Xbox 360 achievements has made me feel a bit nostalgic. But what if we took that nostalgia even further and hunted achievements in retro games? Well, with RetroAchievements and its modified emulators, you can hunt community-made achievements for thousands of old games. So, in order to try this out, I played Donkey Kong Country, one of my favorite SNES titles. Today, I'll be taking you through the experience of what it's like to get all of the achievements for a game on the Super Nintendo. To start, we find our ape friend's victims of banana theft. I mean, just look at how disappointed he is. But let's not forget the task at hand. There are 71 achievements to obtain, and our first major goal will be to collect the Kong letters in every level. They appear throughout each level in the order you spell them, and collecting all 4 gives you an additional life. But who cares about that? I need them for achievements. We'll be trying to knock these out as I get familiar with the game again, and let me tell you, I really needed to get familiar. Once we got that out of our system, things started going a little more smoothly. We found the O near the checkpoint barrel before encountering our first animal buddy, Rambi. DKC features 4 rideable companions: Rambi the rhino, Espresso the ostrich, On Guard the swordfish, and Winky the frog. Each comes with their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and there are several achievements for completing entire levels with them. DKC also has a whopping 67 bonus areas sprinkled throughout the game, all of which we need to find for the 101% completion on our save file, as well as some achievements. Collecting the G in Jungle Hijinkses gives us our first achievement, You Can Spell, for collecting all the Kong letters in a level. Collecting 100 bananas to get an extra life also gives us Tally Me Bananas. Ropey Rampage and Reptile Rumble don't really have anything interesting, so... Next is Coral Capers, our first water level, and just take a second to listen to how divine the music sounds here. We find our second animal buddy, On Guard, who lets you move freely in all 4 directions and can also attack. Water levels don't have any bonus areas, but they do have letters, so after collecting all of them, we move on to our first challenge in the run, Barrel Cannon Canyon. First off, we see at the bottom right corner an achievement icon. This comes from our emulator, showing us an obtainable level-specific achievement. This one is called No Tricks, Only Zingers, for not using any of the shortcut barrels, which let you skip over large chunks of the level. In this level, we're also introduced to a new mechanic, Blast Barrels, which allowed me to sacrifice our monkey friends to the YouTube gods. The timing definitely takes some practice, but this level is nothing compared to what we'll see in World 4. Dying a few times here, I was able to farm up 3 Rambi tokens, giving us Rambi Rampage for entering the Rambi bonus room. Each animal buddy has their own bonus room tailored to their abilities, and there are also achievements for collecting 750 to 850 tokens, depending on which animal you're playing. I got 350 on my first attempt, so at this point, I had absolutely no clue how it was even possible to get that many. Nevertheless, after bouncing and blasting our way through the level, we collect the G, only to realize I forgot the K. I took a death here in hopes of righting my wrong, but I quickly realized there's no backtracking from the checkpoint barrel, so I decided to just complete the level, giving us No Tricks, Only Zingers, and I went back for the K on a second run through, giving us Kongs in the jungle. We move on to the first boss in the game, Naughty. The boss fights in this game are probably the least interesting part. They're all incredibly easy, and World 4 and 6 are pretty much just reskins of the World 1 and 2 bosses. There's an achievement for beating each boss without taking a hit, so our victory here grants us a massive banana for our ape friends and 2 achievements for us. Monkeys Are Not Donkeys for completing World 1, and Very Naughty Timeout for completing the boss without taking a hit. World 2 is pretty on par with World 1 in terms of difficulty. Winky's Walkway introduces us to the 3rd animal buddy, Winky the frog. Winky's ability is a higher jump height, and he can jump on zingers. That's about it. This level is also probably the easiest one in the entire game. It's honestly kind of hard to die here. About 3/4 of the way through the level, we find our 3rd Espresso token, granting us Espresso Triple Shot and introducing us to our 4th animal friend. Espresso has a faster move speed and allows you to cross large gaps by flying. However, Espresso can't attack any enemies. Minecart Carnage is the next level in Monkey Mines. This is the first out of 2 minecart levels in the game, and I've always enjoyed these. They're pretty satisfying to play. Bouncy Bonanza's theme is basically what it sounds like, bouncing enemies, and there's a level specific achievement here for completing the level without hurting any of them. Even though this achievement is small and relatively easy, I think it's really well designed and captures what I love about achievement hunting. experiencing the game in a new or more challenging way. I finished the level unlocking stealth in the caves before moving on to Stop and Go Station, but since that one doesn't have any achievements, we'll skip straight to Millstone Mayhem, the last level of World 2. After collecting the K and the O, we find a bonus area that gives us our third On Guard token and the achievement On Guard You Filthy Monkey for entering the On Guard bonus room. And collecting the final letter here gets us Kongs in Mines. World 2's boss is Neki. You just have to jump from this tire onto his head. Pretty easy fight, although I did jump too early on my first attempt, causing me to take a hit at the very end. Nevertheless, we get Tally-Ho Kongs for completing World 2, and then immediately went back for revenge to get Master Neki demoted for the flawless fight. The next world, Vine Valley, is where the difficulty starts to pick up. Vulture Culture is the first level where I realized the Kong letters are sometimes hidden in bonus areas, which is pretty sneaky of them. A close call at the end brings us to Treetop Town, another blast barrel level which I actually struggled with a lot. Luckily, the developers were kind enough to give you a second chance when you missed the barrel at the bottom here, granting us the achievement Fail Prevention. I collected the letters in Forest Frenzy and Temple Tempest before moving on to Orangutan Gang, the level where I made a big oopsie. After spending about 25 minutes looking for the G, it was getting late and I decided to save and exit. Now, you may have noticed in the wording of the Kong letter achievements that it says in 1 session. Well, I didn't. So, after logging back on the following day and getting the Kong in the final level, Clam City, only then had I realized what had transpired. So, yeah, I'll just come back for this one when I go for all the bonus area achievements. World 3's boss is probably one of the best ones in the game, both design and difficulty-wise. When the zinger is yellow, you need to hit it with a barrel and then avoid it as it zigzags above you. After each hit, the boss speeds up, making its attacks even harder to dodge. Completing this boss gave us Camping with the Kongs for completing World 3, and Queen Bee Dethroned for doing it flawlessly. World 4 is where the difficulty of the game really picks up. The first level, Snow Barrel Blast, is often considered to be the most difficult level in the entire game. Specifically, the final section, which has 17 barrels you need to shoot out of. Many of them are surrounded by bees, and the barrels themselves rotate all the way around, so you have to be pretty good with your timing here. By complete accident, I ended up being saved by the shortcut barrel, taking us all the way to the end and fittingly giving us There Is No Accidents. And don't worry, we'll be back to actually play through this section for an achievement later. Ice Age Alley gave me a really hard time with finding the Kong letters. The first time through, I missed the K, which is behind where you start near this espresso crate, and also the N requires you to take espresso through like 75% of the level, and let me tell you, this is not as easy as it may seem. Platforms in this level are narrow and often slanted with enemies on them. Basically, anytime you get hit, you'll probably lose your animal buddy and have to start all over again since the crate is at the very beginning. I probably spent a good 30 minutes just trying to get this single Kong letter, which I found kind of an absurd jump in difficulty. I honestly found that it was easiest just to get off espresso anytime you see an enemy and deal with them first. Eventually I got the N, but I still have to question why this was so damn tedious. Let's move on to Torchlight Trouble. The level is dimmed out and you're supposed to pick up Squawks the parrot to illuminate what's in front of you. However, you can instead play the level in the dark to get the achievement Torchlight Trauma. This is another example of a really well-designed achievement in this set. Despite being short and also relatively easy, I don't think I would have ever tried playing this level in the dark were it not for the achievement. The next level, Rope Bridge Rumble, is sort of a reskinned Treetop Town, but this one didn't give me nearly as much trouble. You can get Winky from this bonus area and kind of just hop through the rest of this one. We rolled into the void to collect the G at the very end, getting us Kongs in Glacier. The boss for this world is Naughty again, but he's a different color and this time jumps and tries to land on you after every hit. The number of jumps is predictable, it's always the number of times the boss has been hit. I got Monkeys on Ice for beating him, but since I got hit on this attempt, I had to go back to get Really Naughty no more. Other than some trouble finding letters, the first few levels of World 5 went pretty smoothly. Here, I saved to get I Can See the End for achieving 50% game completion. You gain percentage points for completing levels and finding bonus areas. Poison Pond is the water level in World 5. There's an achievement for taking the On Guard hidden at the start of the level all the way to the end without losing it. I tried going for it, but after some close dodges, I ended up getting hit by a squid and wasn't able to recover, so I decided I'd come back for this one later and just got the letters. Moving on to Blackout Basement, the final level in World 5. Here, the lights turn off and on a cycle. Not particularly difficult if you're patient or have speedy reflexes. The letters were pretty easy to find, and collecting the G gave us Kongs in Industries for collecting every letter in World 5. The boss for World 5 is called Dum Drum. Yes, it's actually its name. Here, you pretty much kill the enemies it drops, then avoid getting smashed. Not a terrible fight, but a little bit boring. Defeating Dum Drum without taking a hit gave us Donkey Croc Country and Dum Drum Dunce. Finally, we make it to the last world, Chimp Caverns. There weren't any new achievements I got here other than in the last level, Platform Perils. This one has an achievement for completing the level in under 1 minute and 50 seconds. There's a timer that starts automatically when you enter the level, and it looks like there's some integrated leaderboard support too, which is neat. I really appreciate how much support the emulator provides for these achievements. It all feels very seamless. I played the level normally first to collect the final set of Kong letters in the game, unlocking Kongs in caverns. Our first few speedrun attempts ended pretty abruptly. On the next attempt, I made it to the end in one go, but it was 3 seconds too slow. 1 minute and 50 seconds is pretty generous considering how slow I played in some sections. I didn't really think there was anything wrong with my strategy, I just needed to play a little bit cleaner. So after a few more failed attempts, we got the run we needed, clocking in at 1 minute and 45 seconds and unlocking platforming and rolling. The penultimate boss is a reskinned Neki from World 2. The only difference is that now Neki shoots an increasing number of nuts after every hit. I actually died on my first attempt here. I think the fight is easier if you stay off the tire when dodging. We closed it out on our second attempt, unlocking Trek on the final world for completing World 6 and Master Neki Sr. retired. King K. Rool is the final boss of the game. He has 3 phases, and there's an achievement for completing his fight without taking a hit as well. Phase 1 is pretty simple, you just need to avoid him as he runs back and forth. In Phase 2, cannonballs rain down from the sky, and I found it easiest to wait until right before the cannonball would hit you, and then jump out of the way. The game plays credits to fake you out before entering Phase 3, where K. Rool jumps back and forth across the screen trying to hit you. I got hit right at the very end on my second attempt, but finished out the fight anyway to complete the game and unlock no more monkey business. In 3 hours and 39 minutes, I finished my initial playthrough of the game and unlocked 30 of the 71 achievements. Now here's where the real fun begins. My next goal was to unlock all of the level-specific achievements, as well as some miscellaneous ones I missed along the way. Our first order of business though, reassuring our ape friends that their bananas have safely been returned to their proper resting place. We got Banana Horde checkup for this one. Next, we perfected the King K. Rool fight. This time, I knew where to stand in Phase 3. And after quite a few chokes, we unlocked King K. Rool Overthrown. I decided to tackle the level-specific ones in the order of the levels, so we're back to where it all began to collect balloons. The red and green ones are found above the trees starting at the beginning of the level, and collecting them all gets you starting with the basics. The blue one is found at the very end by jumping off of Rambi while in midair in the very corner. It's a little bit finicky, but you'll know when you're in the right spot if you hear yourself jumping on a tire. There's a barrel above the tire, and jumping into it gets us the joy of the night for collecting the blue balloons in jungle hijinkses. Next, we're back in Barrel Cannon Canyon to use all the shortcut barrels at the top. There's 4 barrels, but there's really only 3 major segments. Taking the final shortcut gets us always on top. Millstone Mayhem is our next stop, where we'll be picking up a few different achievements. First one is for exploiting the game to farm lives. Playing as Diddy Kong specifically, if you jump onto the entrance and drop down while holding right as the Crusher approaches, you'll get stuck bouncing on him. This will start accumulating lives, and after you get 10 of them, you'll unlock classified information. I decided that while I was here, I'd make use of the bonus area conveniently placed at the beginning of the level to get Why Not Both for collecting 2 items in a bonus that looks like this. Finally, we need to finish the level while riding Winky. You could pick him up here, but be careful not to get him stuck, otherwise it's a pain to get him out. Completing the level gets us Holy Frog. Forest Frenzy has another rather fun achievement. In the final section of the level, you need to jump on 12 Nekis after enough of them fly past you. I just barely squeaked this one out on my first try, but I don't think I would have minded trying again because this one is pretty unique. Our visit back to World 3 was a short one though, as we left soon after getting Temple Runner for babysitting espresso through Temple Tempest. The next achievement is arguably the most challenging one in this set, collecting the blue balloon in Snow Barrel Blast. In order to collect it, you need to cross the final section before the blue balloon at the end disappears. I actually couldn't find any more info on how long it's there for, so let me know in the comments if you do know. Other than trying to spend as little time idling as possible, you can also try skipping barrels to save time. Just don't choke at the very end. Oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. Luckily, we got it on the next try, unlocking a very fast blast. Next, we picked up Well This Is New for finding the On Guard token in Croctopus Chase. Then, we went on a few escort missions. We took Rambi to the end of Oil Drum Alley for Blazing Saddles, grabbed a Rambi token in Poison Pond to unlock Swimming Rhino, and also took On Guard to the end of that stage for Poisonous and Pointy. Finally, we escorted Rambi again, this time in Manic Mincers, for Minced Mauler. To conclude our spree, in Misty Mine, we annihilated an entire species of beavers just to become a jump monkey. After completing the level-specific achievements, all we have left to do is find every single remaining bonus area, use all of the warp barrels, and speedrun the game in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Easy enough. And to save you from the pain I experienced trying to find most of these myself, I'll just go over the highlights. While going for the bonus areas in World 1, we finally collected 3 Winky tokens, getting us Winky at Me, Winky at You, and finding the last bonus area in World 1 gave us our rightful title as King of the Jungle. Now at this point, I still had no clue that the exclamation mark next to the level's name meant you were done finding bonus areas, so I replayed a bunch of levels unnecessarily, but eventually did find the bonus area I was missing in World 2, getting us The Pleasure's All Mine. And due to my blunder earlier on, I had to replay all of World 3 to get every single Kong letter for Kongs and Valley. World 3 was particularly bad for me because of Orangutan Gang. I have no clue how you're supposed to figure out that you need to take espresso from the middle of the level all the way to the beginning to find the first bonus area. It doesn't feel like there's any indication that it's here. On top of this, the level has 5 bonus areas, the most in any level in the game. Luckily, my struggles weren't all for nothing because there is an achievement for entering all 5 of them in a single go. The remaining 4 are bunched up at the end, so it only took me a few attempts, and doing so got us not missing anything. The final bonus area I found in World 3 was another sneaky one. It's hidden at the bottom of the final rope section in Forest Frenzy. This time I caught it, getting us an inspirational Ain't No Valley Low Enough. I probably spent the least amount of time in World 4. The bonus areas didn't feel too hard to find here. I'd say the most notable one was in Snow Barrel Blast, where you have to take a bit of a leap of faith. Getting all of them in World 4 unlocked Glacial Grab Bag. Our next stop is Oil Drum Alley to find a bonus area hidden inside another bonus area. If you enter the second one, you'll notice an arrow pointing to the right. If you match all 3 barrels as single bananas, you'll get a throwable barrel as your reward. However, the bonus ends as soon as you break the barrel, which is kind of janky. Instead of throwing it, you need to jump against the right wall, holding the barrel so that it breaks when you slide down. Doing so and completing the bonus gets you move the bonus to the bonus. Even though water levels don't have bonus areas, we made a quick stop to grab Major Aquatic Skip for using the shortcut barrel towards the end of Poison Pond. And after another 45 minutes of running around like the buffoon I truly am, I finally found the last bonus area in World 5 for Run of the Mill. At this point, we were missing just 2 bonus areas for the 101% on our save file, both of which ended up being in Platform Perils since I speedran the level the first time I played it. The first one was right in front of us the whole time. I then saved right after for the 100% on my save file and the dopamine rush I get when I hear this sound. The final bonus area of the run was fittingly at the very end of the last level in the game. We got Chimp Champ for this and then saved one more time for even more dopamine. Before going for the Warp Barrels achievements, I decided to tackle some remaining miscellaneous ones, starting with the animal bonuses. So I haven't been showing any of this footage, but the entire time I was completing all of these achievements, I was experimenting with how it's even possible to achieve these point totals on the bonuses. And I discovered something interesting. Every area contains a spot where you can double your current points. Now, the achievements required 750 to 850, which seemed impossible before, but after discovering this, numbers like 375 375 or 425 were very doable. The only problem is farming the tokens, right? Well, I noticed that this achievement existed, and after looking more into it, I read that if you input down Y, down Y on the start screen, you enter a practice area that gives you all of the tokens for free with unlimited retries. If this didn't exist, I probably would have spent several hours on the Rambi one alone, because this one was tough. There's almost no room for error, and I found that you have to take a pretty specific route to have enough time to double after collecting 375. Otherwise, you'll run out of time. What? The route I followed looked something like this. To know if I was on track to make it in time, I knew that I needed to hit this point with at least 375 tokens and around 35 left on the timer. For context, I spent around 30 minutes straight doing this one alone and got the other 3 within a 20-minute span. The rest are a lot more lax, and you can kind of freestyle them because the tokens for doubling your score are much easier to get to. On Guards is hidden at the bottom of the level, Espressos is above the rightmost wall, and Winkies is tucked away in the leftmost bottom corner. To wind down from this grind, we activated another one of the game's menu secrets, the sound test. If you highlight the erase game option and press down A R B Y down A Y, you'll be able to listen to all of the game's songs. Listening to aquatic ambience for 30 seconds got us just sit and relax. Okay, only 5 more achievements to go. The next 4 I got were for using all of the warps in the game. There's only 7, and they allow you to pretty much skip entire levels. I knew a couple of these from playing the game as a kid, but after how long it took to find most of the bonus areas myself, I decided to just look the rest up. The first 2 warps are in Minecart Carnage and Stop and Go Station. The final World 2 warp is in Millstone Mayhem. This one is definitely the hardest warp since you have to punch a tire across this gap in order to be able to reach a barrel. After getting it stuck on the very edge, I finally managed to get behind it. We rolled it over, lined it up, and got tires are the worst for all our troubles. The first warp in World 3 is in Vulture Culture. You just need to get to this point as Donkey Kong within 10 seconds. It's not too bad. And the other World 3 warp is in Treetop Town. I found it easiest to use Diddy to jump on both enemies in a row. And after a couple attempts, we got ourselves Don't Lose the Barrel. Worlds 4 and 5 each have a single warp. One's in Slip Side Ride, and the other one is in Trick Track Trek. So now we're at 70 out of 71 achievements, with the only thing stopping me from achieving mastery being a speed run. But I feel wrong calling it that, so we'll say a speedy casual playthrough instead, because that's pretty much exactly what I did. You need to complete the game in 70 minutes, which is pretty generous considering the no major glitches world record is about 34 minutes. My priorities were simple: try not to die, use the warps, and go fast, in that order. The start of our run was a bit shaky, but I didn't take any deaths in the first few levels, despite taking some hits here and there. Nevertheless, we finally made it to Barrel Canyon Cannon, where I was able to utilize the shortcut barrels for their intended purpose. We took our first death here, as well as our second, but on our third try, we were finally on our way to completing World 1. We clocked in at 6 minutes on our first save, and before we knew it, we were entering World 2, by far the easiest and fastest world. Winky's Walkway, easy. Minecart Carnage, warped. Bouncy Bonanza, pretty chill. Stop and Go Station, warped again. I saved once more, clocking in at 8 minutes, so we were kind of crushing it on World 2. I hit the Millstone warp first try, and we were almost ready for World 3. Unfortunately, this was probably the peak of the run. I missed the warp in Vulture Culture, so I had to play through the whole level, and to make things worse, I lost Diddy, meaning the Treetop Town warp was going to be a lot harder. I died the first time going for the warp, and the second time I just didn't get enough height, so I grabbed Diddy, went for it again, missed, and died to reset. Finally, on my 4th try, I got the warp, losing me a bit of time and a few lives. Forest Frenzy was clean, Temple Tempest went smoothly, and we clocked in at 14 minutes on the save. Not terrible. We used Espresso and Orangutan Gang to fly over most of the level, and after a close call at the end of Clam City, we moved on to the boss. I died a few times on the B, but it didn't cost me too much time overall. And so here is where I really started choking the run, if you could even call it that. Not only did I not save before going into one of the hardest levels in the game, I also completely forgot about the shortcut barrel that lets you skip the section that makes it so hard. So I proceeded to die not once, not twice, but 5 times on the last section. And on my very last life, I managed to finish the level. I used the warp and slipside ride, but the situation was still dire. I was on one Kong with no lives left and no save since midway through World 3. Luckily, the last section of this level isn't too bad, but we weren't quite out of the woods yet. 3 levels stood between me and the save. I grabbed Espresso at the start and proceeded to fly through as much of the level as possible. And all was going well until a hidden barrel decided it had other plans for me. On top of this, I lost Diddy, so once again, I was a single hit away from losing the run. The end was in sight. All I had to do was avoid the barrels. And game over. Or was it? So, you see, the times I've been reading off to you have been my save file times. And the game only registers your progress and time spent when you save. So when I loaded my last save, I was back to 14 minutes midway through World 3. It's almost as if that never happened. So yeah, I guess it's kind of easy to just reset your game if you mess up too badly or play too slowly, so you could pretty much redo whatever you want until you're happy with your time. I felt like this was a little bit cheap, so I decided not to abuse it. Croctopus Chase was uneventful but long. Torchlight Trouble was in fact not trouble, and I finally managed to save, clocking in at 29 minutes in World 4. Rope Bridge Rumble took a couple of attempts, and having learned my lesson, I started saving more frequently. I played Oil Drum Alley kind of safe, used the warp and Trick Trek track, rode some elevators, and saved again at 37 minutes. We finessed Poison Pond using On Guard. You can kind of sneak by most of these discs without waiting, but everything fell apart at the end after I got hit and then proceeded to die right before the exit, but it's fine, I just did it again. The minecart level was chill for the most part, and so was Blackout Basement. Now with Dumb Drum done, we just had one more world and the final boss before it was all over. At 46 minutes, I felt like we were on pace. Tanked Up Trouble was pretty easy, but I started to slow down my play here since more was at stake from dying. After completing Manic Mincers, we moved on to Misty Mine, a level that I think is way too easy for World 6. Out of caution, I decided to go to another world to save and saw that I was at 53 minutes. Only 17 minutes left for the last 2 levels and last 2 bosses. Starting to feel like I'm cutting it a bit close here. Loopy Lights gave me a bit of trouble, so I lost some time here. I saved again, and then got a game over on Platform Perils. This might have been for the better though. I finally closed out the level, meaning the end was within reach. Necky's Revenge wasn't anything to worry about, but I did only have 12 minutes to defeat King K. Rool. Now, this is plenty of time, since the fight is only about 2 minutes long, but if I died a bunch of times at the end, this could be a problem. It actually wasn't. The fight went smoothly. I dodged the cannonballs in phase 2, but I took a hit at the very end. Still, I managed to complete the fight, ending with an in-game time of 1 hour and 10 seconds, and a total playtime of 14 hours and 24 minutes. I really enjoyed 100%ing DKC. Some of the highlights were definitely the level-specific achievements, as well as the speedrun. And the replayability here is kind of nuts. I mean, I know for a fact I definitely would not have spent more than a few hours revisiting the game if it wasn't for achievements. So, if you're looking to experience one of your favorite retro games in a new light, I'd recommend trying it out. While the achievements maybe weren't as difficult as I wanted them to be, I still think this set is wonderfully designed and is great for anyone who is new to achievement hunting in retro games. So if you don't know what to play, check this one out. I'll see you all in the next one. Maybe we'll up the stakes.